All right, final hour of the Infowarrior coming up. But first, I want to play this clip of Sibel Edmonds, FBI whistleblower, finally talking about the goods, gave a 3.5-hour deposition. I can't wait to get my hands on this deposition. But here is just a small excerpt of what she was planning to say before the deposition. Hit it.
So it's fair to say, in your case, then, that you don't have necessarily information that you haven't been able to disclose that reveals that 9/11 was an inside job. You just have, like I do, concerns about the information that we have, the bad information that we have, and why, all these unanswered questions.
Here and say, I have information about things that our government has lied to our people, to us, not to me, because I know. For example, to say that, all right, since the fall of the Soviet Union, we ceased all our intimate relationship with Bin Laden and Taliban, and those things can be proven as lies very easily based on the information they classified in my case, because we did carry very intimate relationship with these people, and it involves Central Asia and all the way up to September 11. I know you're going to say, oh my God, there were this, we went there and we bombed the medical factory in 1990s during Clinton. We declared them most wanted. And what I'm telling you is, with those groups, we had operations in Central Asia, and that relationship, using them as we did during the Afghan and Soviet conflict, we used them all the way until September 11th.
What, are you able to speak about in more detail on that material that was classified?
All right, let's cut the clip. I mean, do we really even have to hear any more? No, we don't. Right there, she says it. Bin Laden, the Taliban, intimate U.S. intelligence relationship up until 9/11. Folks, that should have been on the front page of every major newspaper in this country if we didn't have a controlled press. Let's be honest with ourselves. All right, let's go to Mike in Florida. Mike, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I love your show. Thanks to you and Alex for keeping us enlightened with what's going on. It's obvious to everybody that none of the congressmen have read any of these bills. They never have read the Patriot Act. They haven't read the energy bill. They haven't read the health care bill. And it's obvious the president hasn't even read it. Mm-hmm. So my question is, who writes these bills?
Well, you know what? They're often written up. Well, I'll tell you where they usually come from. They usually come from think tanks and organizations such as the Brookings Institution, all these other ones. I'm sure Project for a New American Century puts out their little paperwork. And what happens is they all of a sudden they're created into a bill by somebody within government. In other words, a lobbyist takes this paperwork that's put up by a think tank and they say, hey, we need you to sponsor this bill we have written up. So really, these bills are written up by not only think tanks, but the lobbyists that control the majority of these think tanks. Very rarely will you see a bill that's solely written up by a congressman or a senator. You'll see that sort of a thing with like 1207, for instance. 1207, which is the audit the Federal Reserve bill, was really written up by Ron Paul, and it's rather short. I mean, some of the shorter bills are definitely written up by people in the Senate and in Congress. But when you have one of these monster Leviathan-like bills like cap and trade or this health care bill, it's often special interests and think tanks. You know, Council on Foreign Relations is a great example. I mean, Hillary Clinton sits up there and jokes that the legislation that is, we suggest is what the Congress enacts. And she knows it because she's a member. And now she's the Secretary of State, throwing hissy fits about people asking about her husband. That's a non-issue, but it makes the news. I think the Sibel Edmonds thing might be a bigger issue. We'll be back after this. It's the Infowarrior. We are back. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, and I wanted to read this story. And I also want to play for you the video. Jones played it on his show earlier today, but we're going to play the video of this drill that's running outside of a high school. Now, remember, all this swine flu hype, the vaccination centers are going to be at high schools. But it's not going to be people stampeding to get the vaccines. It's going to be people who don't want the vaccines. But it gives them an excuse to put the National Guard on the scene and create kind of a police state atmosphere and acclimate the public to the National Guard, not even in National Guard uniforms, in new National Guard riot gear. So they kind of look like a cross between a military officer and somebody in a black uniform ready to jackboot you. Isn't that lovely? LA Sports Arena hosts health clinic of last resort. Now, this is a situation where people will stampede for health care. Okay, so they would put troops out here, but they don't want to do that yet. They want to acclimate you first. And this is what you're going to see in this country more and more and more regarding healthcare, especially if this bill is passed. Inside an aging sports arena where rows of dental chairs and hospital smell have replaced the former Los Angeles Lakers basketball court, thousands of Americans are seeking free healthcare. So thousands of Americans go line up outside of where the Lakers play. I believe is it the Staples Center? It might be the Staples Center. I'm not 100%. But they have to sleep there overnight like they're going to get front row tickets for a rock show in order to get basic health care. And we're talking, one of the examples they give is a 15-year-old girl who hasn't had her teeth cleaned in 5 years. This girl spent, 8 hours on a sidewalk? Here it is right here. Ayanna Kleckner, 15, was chipper despite spending the night in the line outside to get one of the 1,500 appointments available on Tuesday. She managed only 2 hours of sleep in a sleeping bag on a cold sidewalk. Meanwhile, an 83-year-old woman gets turned away for false teeth after making that wait. This is nightmarish. This is not cool. This is not good. This is not a great program. You know how you make this a great program? You don't let people line up outside for 9 hours, number one. Number two, you double the amount of doctors. And number three, you give them real health care. But this is the kind of socialized medicine we're going to see in this country as more and more people can't afford it, or what they get isn't enough. And this is the plan. This is what they want. And notice they can mobilize when they want to give you a death shot. When they want to give you a soft kill vaccine, they can mobilize. Don't worry. And you know, this is in no U.S. media. The Drudge Report linked to one of these stories, but they didn't do a story of their own. They linked to the Daily Mail online. Doctors told to watch for Guillain-Barré syndrome during swine flu vaccination program. Now, again, this is something we've been talking about for months now. Months. That they paralyzed a bunch of people in the 70s. That they killed a bunch of people. And although they downplay it a little, like you look at the Daily Mail and it says neurologists over 25 deaths in America, according to this letter that was sent out. But let's just look at it, okay? It refers to the use of a similar swine flu vaccine in the United States in 1976 when, are you ready for this, more people died from the vaccination than from the swine flu. Let me repeat it for you, a little slower and a little dumber. More people die from vaccination than from swine flu. That's reality. That's what really happened. And that's what will happen again if we let it. 500 cases of GBS were detected. What does that mean? Well, I don't know about you folks, but I don't want to spend one waking hour of my life as a quadriplegic. But some people woke up to that nightmare every single day. And even those that recovered still had to wear braces on their legs and have a speech impediment. We'll be back after this with your calls, 888-201-2244. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, prisonplanet.tv, Infowars.com.